Very good morning to each one of you. On behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we welcome each one of you for the second day of this webinar on pre-request and procedures for registration of trademarks. We had this yesterday on introduction to IPR and which was delivered by Mr. Santanam. It was a very good, well appreciated, received this one. We hope to continue this the second session, and we look for a very active participation from our members. This session also has been organized under the aegis of Banking, Finance and Corporate Affairs Expert Committee. We'd also like to specially thank Dr. K.V. Om Prakash, Chair, and Dr. K.S. Ravichandran, member of the committee. The today's session is being addressed by Advocate Ms. Manjula Devi, Senior In-House Counsel and Associates of KSR and Co. Company, Secretariat LLP. She will speak on the prerequisite and procedures for registration of the trademark. The session will be moderated by Dr. KSR. On behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we express our sincere thanks to Ms. Manjula Devi for accepting our invitation to address on this important subject. We would also like to thank all the participants for joining on this Saturday session. We also would like to acknowledge and thank KSR and Co. Company Secretariat LLP for being a supporting partner for this 2 days virtual session. We request all of you to kindly mute your mic and webcam option. This is to enhance and keep the bandwidth strong and also avoid any disturbance in the background. May I now invite Dr. K.B. Om Prakash to do the welcome address for today's sessions. Over to you, Dr. Om Prakash.
Thank you, Prithvi, and thank you all the participants and attendees for joining the second day IPR session. This is a really important activity in terms of a corporate, wherein you tend to have a build a brand and protect the brand and its name, logo, design, however it is, in order to protect your business, and so that there is no the confusion in the consumer. This is the only way to protect. And tomorrow nobody can claim your brand or your sign and pass off the goods in their name. So this is the whole idea about the trademark. And I welcome everybody who has attended last previous day and also today to benefit the workshop and take away whatever knowledge you have gained, and also to reciprocate and see that all the companies get their logos and their signs or whatever tagline they have registered under the Trademarks Act. The offices are spread across the country, and one we have in Chennai, in Guindy. And I have personally handled more than 1,000 to 2,000 trademarks. It's a wonderful way of doing business. And there are many professionals only doing trademark registration. Those who are lawyers need not write an exam, but others may have to write small test, I believe. I don't know whether it's continuing now. At least I was not asked to write an exam. So you become a trademark attorney, and I know the speaker for today, Ms. Manjula, will be totally taking you to the entire process. And I would welcome everybody to attend this wonderful session till the end and be benefited. Welcome you all, and over to KSR and the speaker of the day. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, before my colleague Advocate Manjula Devi takes you through the presentation, I would like to say, as a way of by way of a preface, eternal vigilance is the freedom forever. People used to say in the patriotic sense. Trademark and brands also requires the same slogan to be kept in mind, because you can build a brand, but you must remember, while you are building the brand, you must probably, like the 9 feet compound wall around your office or residence, you should always be having such protection which is necessary within the compound wall and outside the compound wall also. Because building a brand is a very difficult task, And once you do it, there are n number of guys around in the market who may be taking care of your brand, who may be looking at your brand, who may be trying to ride on the reputation of your brand. And therefore, you have to go behind the compound wall and within the compound wall. So therefore, there within the compound wall, I mean, you must ensure that the quality, the nature of service that you provide, that continues forever and it always improves and doesn't fall. Therefore, there is a requirement to be within the compound wall, to be on guard and be always vigilant that the nature of quality, nature of service, the taste or whatever it is, depending on what product it is, that is always protected, which means within the organization you have a lot of things to do to protect the brand, to keep up the reputation. Outside the compound wall also you have to do it. That is where the importance comes in brand. And therefore I started with the preface, eternal vigilance is freedom forever, inside and outside. Over to Manjula Devi, who has got excellent experience in the field of IPRs, especially in trademarks and copyrights. She has been here in our firm for more than 12 years and she has handled probably thousands of trademark applications, registrations, oppositions, IPAB appearances, and whatnot. And there are a lot of passing off and infringement cases which she has handled. So she'll be taking you through a very small aspect of this law. This law is very big one, and today it is going to be discussion will be on the registration aspects of it, because which is most fundamental. Once she finishes, I'll get back to you again with a short presentation on certain aspects of this law, so that we are able to have a good takeaway at the end of the day. Over to Manjula Devi.
Very good morning to all. So I welcome each and everyone who have joined for this webinar organized by BCIC today. Today our session is with respect to prerequisites and procedure for registration of trademark. Before going to the main topic, let's see what is IPR first. Intellectual property rights is a right which gives protection to the respective proprietors of a trademark, copyright, and patent. As everybody knows, main four vertical of us, one is patent, second one is trademarks, third one is copyrights, and fourth one is trade secrets. So everybody knows this. So today we are not going to deal with all the topics today. So today our session is only limited to trademarks. Now let's move to the main topic. Now just let me share the small PPT I have prepared for today's session. Anybody can confirm the presentation that it is visible?
Yeah, it is visible, Manjula.
Thank you, sir. Now today's session is with respect to prerequisites and procedure for registration of trademarks. We are not going to elaborately deal with this act today. Only the basics only we are going to say, because this is the first day of our session. So going to state the application, what is the precautionaries we have to take, and what are the steps in filing application for registration of the trademark. Then what is the jurisdiction where application, then what are the expected objections by the registrar in the preliminary stage, then under what provision they will be raising an objection, so how to overcome that, then what is the next stage, then finally how it is going for registration. After registration, what are the things to be followed, then what is infringement, all those things in brief we are going to see today. So first, let me go to the first slide. So it explains about what is trademark. Generally, trademark is known as brand. Everybody used to say that generally the businessman and ordinary people will not say this
You cannot hear, no? Yes, Manjula Devi, we cannot hear.
No, even the this one is not visible.
PPT.
Yeah.
इसके Manjula Devi, we cannot see the PPT nor hear you.
I have come back actually.
Okay.
1 minute, sir.
Yes, yes.
Got disconnected. My internet connection got disconnected.
Yeah, now we can see.
So, yes, sir. I'm going to the first slide. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Please can.
Yes, sir. Generally, trademark is known as brand. Everybody used to call this. They will not call this as trademark. Generally, the normal common people will call it as brand. So, under the Trademarks Act, trademark is explained. Section 2 class ZB of the Trademarks Act 1999 gives explanation or definition what is trademark. Trademark means brand which distinguishes the products or services of one person from that of others, which help the people to identify the origin of the products. Here I am giving small pause because if the just you think, you assume if the trademark is a brand is not there, if you are going to one shop or to one departmental store, how you will identify the product? Now, if you go to the departmental store for a normal, even these normal consumer products, if you want to buy one noodles, you are searching for some brand. You are going for Maggi noodles or Top Ramen noodles or something. If you want to buy some toothpaste, then you are looking at the brand which you like. After seeing that name itself, you understand what is the quality of the product. So you may be able to appreciate what is the importance of the brand. Even if you want to buy one shoes, if you're going to one shop, now the teenage people know, you know very well that they will have some comfort. They go for, they will see about the cost and all, they will only for comfort and they will go for some Skechers shoe. So once you see that brand, you can recollect what is the comfort, what is the size level. If even the man want to buy one shirt, if you are going to one mall, then you will select, you will be having in mind then what brand you are going to buy one shirt. Then after you can see you can corroborate with this brand with the product, like what is the size, if you buy this brand, how this quality will be, what is the size, everything you can corroborate. So now you are able to appreciate that without trademark, nothing. So you have to, the trademark is very important. The one person wants to commence a business, first they have to think about the trademark, that is brand. First they have to decide while incorporating the company or commence as a partnership firm or a proprietorship concern, they have to think also about the trademark on the first day itself. Name, signature, device, brand, label, word, letter, numerical, shape of goods, packaging, combination of colors, smell, sound, which is capable of distinguishing goods and services of one person that of others. So it is not about only the word or something. So it can be anything. So it is explained for the purpose of solving, there should not be any confusion. So that the Trademark Act itself gives explanation. In the definition itself, it is explained what is trademark. So now we are going to the next slide. Now I think you people understand what is trademark, what is the importance of trademark, how it is explained in common man perspective in the trademark itself. So I am going to trademark. So you can see that it can be logo, it can be device. So everybody knows what is word mark. There is no confusion about word mark. So it will contain only the word. That is like I have given few examples. Tata, Craftsman, Annapurna. It does not have any logo or design, shape or nothing. So simple word mark. So then next one is logo. Logo means the logo mark will consisting of only the artistic work or design. It will not consist of any word mark. So you can see the Apple logo I have shown in my slide. So it is for computers they are using. So this is called logo without any word. The only design is there. So this is called the logo. Mark. Always there is a confusion amongst the people that what is called device mark. Because if the client comes to for some trademark registration, we will give one checklist. So we'll ask them to fill up the checklist. That one clarification is about your mark is word mark, logo, or device mark. They are very clear about word mark. For some extent also about device mark. What you call by device mark? So now I have given few examples. What is device mark? So it is consisting of word, design, shape of the goods, then slogan, McDonald's, I'm loving it. So I have given some examples. In bottle, the shape also we are able to recollect along this Coca-Cola. So this is called device mark. So now I think you are clear about what is word mark, logo, and device mark. So I am going. The proprietor can adopt any kind of mark. It is not that word mark only he can adopt, or he can adopt only logo. He can adopt only device mark. So it is up to him to adopt a trademark which is suitable for his business, or which he likes and which can attract the people with respect to his business. So I'm going to the next slide. This is about who can be trademark owner. So trademark owner can be anybody. That is, the trademark owner can be an individual, business organization, or any legal entity. So once who can file the trademark application for registration of the trademark? Section 18 explains about who is proprietor, who can file application. So as per Section 18 of the Trademarks 1999, any person claiming to be the proprietor of a trademark, that any person means the individual, business organization, or any legal entity. So it may be private limited company, public company, or partnership firm, or proprietorship concern. So proprietor of a trademark used or proposed to be used by him who is desirous of registering it shall apply in writing to the registrar in the prescribed manner for registration of the trademark. So anybody who claims the proprietor of the trademark, who adopts the trademark, he is the owner of the trademark. So he can file application before the trademark registry for registering his trademark. So that is explained in Section 18 of the Trademarks Act 1999. So now, after understanding about the trademark, the need for trademark to establish your business, what is the precautionaries you must take before adopting a trademark? Simply, we cannot adopt one trademark which is exclusively for the product, nature of product, or what the product it is, like that. So now we have to. So I have given few examples. Then how it should not be. So don't adopt a mark which is a common word. Example, Rama, this is a common word. The god of the name Ganapati, Sai Baba, and any god or goddess name, because it is very common. It belongs to everybody. The one person cannot claim any right over that common word. So don't go for any word which is very common amongst the public. The next one is don't adopt a mark which is identical, closely similar, deceptively similar to the already registered mark. So you don't go for a mark which is already registered, because if as per the Trademarks Act, they are getting statutory protection for the trademark. So why do you go for that mark? Just you leave that, you adopt for some other your own mark. The next one is don't adopt a mark which is subject matter of an application for registration. If somebody has filed application for registration of the same mark, don't go for that. Even it should not be similar or deceptively similar. Though it may not be identical, if it is similar or deceptively similar, that is also objected under the Trademarks Act. You don't adopt that also. So don't adopt a mark which is identical, closely similar, or deceptively similar to the well-known mark, though it is not registered in same classification of goods and services. This is very important, because if the mark is a well-known mark, if for example you have conducted search only in the products which belong to you, so you have conducted search in the class, the only one class. For other classes you have not conducted search. There is some other mark registered in other class and it is a well-known mark. Though even for the well-known mark, it need not be registered. If it is so popular, though it is not registered, you don't go for that mark. So under the Trademarks Act, even if the mark is not registered, if it is a well-known mark, even if it is belong to the same classification of goods and services, even if the products are different, it is subjected. So if you feel that like a Bata for shoes and Skechers for shoes, like some Maggi for noodles, like this and all, we know Whirlpool for washing machine, LG for electronic products. So these kind of brands we know very well that it is well known. So Benz for car, Audi for car, all those is well known. So now you cannot say that Benz is only for car. I will go for some other electronic goods for the same thing. So if it is well-known mark, even under the Trademarks Act for other classification of goods and services, it is not allowed. So why do you go for the litigation in future? The next one is don't adopt a mark which consists of geographical indication. As per the Trademarks Act, it should not contain the geographical indication. So you don't go for that. Any name that gives a connotation to any territory or region such as Malabar or Madras. Your trademark should not contain the specific territory details. Then next, don't adopt a mark which explains the nature, kind, quality, or quantity of the goods and services. It is subjected under Section 9 of the Trademarks Act 1999 specifically. So let us see once for a minute. We'll see Section 9. So this is very important because at the time of examination, issuance of examination report by the registrar, this is very dangerous. Section 11 application, at least we can overcome. It is comparison of one mark and the other mark, and we can give some explanation. Under Section 9, they will see only your mark alone, whether this mark is entitled for getting registration. So there are some objection mentioned in the Trademarks Act itself. So we have to understand what is stated in the Trademarks Act, absolute grounds for refusal for registration. So trademarks which are devoid of any distinctive character, that is to say not capable of distinguishing the goods or services of one person from those of another person, which consist of exclusively of marks or indications which may serve in trade to designate the kind, quality, quantity, intended purpose, values, geographical origin, or the time of production of the goods or rendering of the service, or other characteristics of the goods or service, which consist exclusively of marks or indications which have become customary in the current language or in the bona fide and established practices of trade, shall not be registered. These grounds have been given in the Trademarks Act itself. So that is what I have given as nutshell in my slide. Shall not be registered, provided that a trademark shall not be registered, refused registration if before the date of application for registration it has acquired a distinctive character as a result of the use made of it or is a well-known trademark. For this, there is a exception that we have to understand, because whenever I advise our client, don't go for this mark, immediately they will ask some other people are using, how they are using that same kind of mark which are objectionable under Section 9. Then how they got registration? My answer is this: in the Trademarks Act itself, there is a proviso available. So the mark is already used for very long prior to filing application, not after filing of the application. Prior to the date of application, if they have been using the mark for very long, then it has already reached the most consumers, then it will not be objected. They will allow for registration, like Sri Annapurna for hotels. It is a very common word, Sri Annapurna, but they have been using this for very long, from 1960s. So they have got registration. So this is the difference between the new adoption of the mark, which is objectionable under Section 9, and what is the safeguard given under the same section. So if you have been using the mark for very long, then that will not be objected under Section 9. That is the difference between that and this. Then as per Section 9 Clause 2, a mark shall not be registered as a trademark if it is of such nature as to deceive the public or cause confusion. It contains or comprises of any matter likely to hurt the religious or any class or section of the citizens of India. It comprises or contains scandalous or obscene matter. Its use is prohibited under the Emblems and Names Prevention of Improper Use Act 1950. So all these things also we have to keep it in mind. So for example, you should not use the mark broomstick. The mark Ganapati, Sri Ganapati cannot be used for broomstick. So it will hurt the religious feeling of the Hindus. So you have to keep it in mind this also. Then Indian flag you cannot use. So some obscene matters you cannot use as a trademark. So these are all the objections mentioned in the section Trademarks Act itself. Apart from that, there are some more objections are mentioned. A mark shall not be registered as a trademark if it consists exclusively of the shape of goods which results from the nature of the goods themselves. I have already given device mark the example, the Coca-Cola bottle. So you can ask me now how you are saying that the shape of the goods can be used for filing application. But in the section 9 objection, it is mentioned as it is not allowed. So the shape should not explain as your product should not be explained. So that is the objection mentioned in section 9. The shape of the goods which is necessary to obtain a technical result, or the shape which gives substantial value to the goods. So generally it should not explain the what product it is. It should be different. It should be arbitrary, the trademark. So like the one logo, Apple logo given for computers. Is there any link between Apple logo and computer? It is not. But now we are able to recollect the Apple logo and the computers. So now you can understand what kind of trademarks we have to adopt, what kind of trademarks we should not. So now we are going to slide number 5. Details required for registration of trademarks. Now you have finally adopted a trademark. Now you want to file application for registration. What are the details you are supposed to give to the trademark agent? So name and address of the proprietor you have to give. If, for example, if it is a company name of the company and it is register office address. Then if it is a company, you are supposed to give one board resolution authorizing one of the directors to sign the all forms and power of attorney, everything. So exact representation of the mark. Exact representation means if it is a word mark, you can give that word mark. If it is a logo, what is that logo exactly you have to give. If it is a device mark, exact representation you are supposed to give. So details of goods and services. So what are the you are going to use for the details of goods and services you are supposed to provide for the trademark registration application. So the trademark agent will identify on the basis of the NICE classification of goods and services published by WIPO, World Intellectual Property Office. They will identify belongs to which classification of goods and services, because there are 45 classification of goods and services. Up to 35 it is goods, and from 35 to 45 it is about service class. Reason for adoption of the mark. You are supposed to give reason. This is required because definitely there should be some bona fide reason for adopting. If somebody else is opposing your mark, at that time we have to make use of this reason why you adopted this mark. Then date of first use of the mark. If you have already commenced using the mark, then you have to give the first use of the mark. Nowadays we have to file affidavit along with the first user proof to the trademark registry while filing application. Earlier days it was not there. Once we will claim the user date and we will be filing the user proof affidavit only at the time of examination report. Now the situation is changed. On the day of filing itself, you have to provide some proof to show that you have been using the mark. Then evidence to show the first and continuous. If you are claiming that you have been using the mark for some time, so for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or 10 years, then continuous use of the mark you are supposed to provide proof. So the next, where you have now you have decided to file application, you have given all the details. The next stage is where to file the application. You have decided everything and where to file it. Actually, whatever you do under the act, then there is a jurisdiction. So where to file a case, where to file the application, where you should go, like that. So with respect to trademark, there are 5 trademark registries: Mumbai, New Delhi, Ahmedabad, Kolkata and Chennai. So appropriate office of the trademark registry for the purpose of filing a document is the office within the territorial jurisdiction of which the principal place of business of the applicant in India is situated. For example, if the applicant is a company, where your register office is situated, you have to file application within that jurisdiction. For example, if you are not having any office in India, or you are not having any principal place of business in India, then the place given in the address for service in India as entered in the register is considered as the principal place under section 18 class 3 proviso. So like you can mention one trademark agent, because if the foreign person is giving assignment to us, then if we are filing application, if we are authorized, then we will be mentioning our address. Then that will be considered as for deciding the jurisdiction for filing the application. So next we are going to the slide number 7, which is talking about, we are talking about trademark, filing application, what are all the details required, all those things. Now I'm asking, is at all the registration is mandatory? No, actually the registration is not mandatory. However, the registration is the prima facie evidence of the proprietorship of the trademark under registration. Then now you will ask me, if the registration is not mandatory, why should think about all this section 9 objection? Why should we go for registration? Why should we spend money for this and time? So why it is required? Yes, it is required. Because the registration gives exclusive right to the proprietor of the trademark to file infringement suit against the misuse of the trademark by the others. Once the mark is registered, the proprietor can file a suit where he resides or carrying on business as per section 134. Why I am saying this? Actually, if the trademark is not registered, you cannot file the infringement suit. Then you're not going to get the statutory protection under the Trademarks Act. Once the trademark is registered, you are going to show to the court only your registration certificate, nothing else. You are going to say that my mark is registered, so I am entitled for filing this suit against the misuse of my mark by the my trademark by the others. So what is the importance of section 134 in this place? Because as per section 134 of the Trademarks Act, the proprietor can file a suit, civil suit, before the principal district court where he resides or he is carrying on business. Otherwise, as per the general law, as per the civil procedure code, you have to go to the defendant place. Then you have to file. For example, if you are the proprietor of the mark, you have registered and you are in Coimbatore or you are in Bangalore. If you have got registration, you can file your suit either in Coimbatore or in Bangalore, wherever you are residing or you are carrying on business. The different, wherever the different, like if the different is in Rajasthan, Kolkata, Mumbai, Delhi, wherever he is misusing the mark or wherever he resides, you need not worry about all those things. You can file in your place. You can ask him to come to your place. Otherwise, if the mark is not registered, you have to only file a passing of suit under common law remedy. So you have to apply the civil procedure code. As per section 20 of the civil procedure code, if you file a suit, then you have to go to the defendant's place where he is residing or where he is misusing the trademark. For example, if the person who is misusing a trademark is residing in Rajasthan or in Delhi, then you have to go there and file the suit. It is very difficult. So because of the considering the difficulty only, under the Trademarks Act, they have given this special bonus to you. So next, so we have come to the conclusion. Though it is not mandatory, why it is required? Why it is needed? The registration. So next, we are going to see the trademark registration procedures. So once you decide to file the application for registration, then step 1 is first you conduct the trademark search. Because why it is required, as already I have explained what all the precautionaries you have to take. You should not go for the mark which is already registered or the proprietor who has filed application for registration which is pending before the registrar of trademarks. So first, once you give the trademark to your trademark agent, they will be doing the thorough trademark search. So first you have to identify in the trademark search what are all the steps involved. First step is identify the classification of goods and services in the NICE classification published by WIPO. So there are 45 classification of goods. So in brief only they have mentioned as classification of goods and services from 1 to 45. You can see it in the trademark website. So there are a lot of goods and services in subclasses it is available. So we have to see the NICE classification of goods published in WIPO, in which it is explained in detail each and every class, each and every subclassification of goods and services they have explained. So you have to see the NICE classification of goods and services, then only you can finalize your products fall under which classification of goods, or your products may be falling under various classes of goods and services. So those classes, as a first step, we have to conduct a search. In relevant classes, we have to conduct a search. Then we have to form an opinion whether already the given trademark is already registered or pending before in the name of any other proprietors. So we have to see that, then only we have to form your opinion. On the basis of our opinion, we will be giving the will be giving the opinion to the client that whether you can go for this trademark or it is not advisable for you to go for this trademark in view of the existence of the already registered trademark or already pending trademarks. So on the basis of that we can take a decision, and once the trademark search report is clear, we can go for further for filing application for registration of trademark. That is step 2. I have given in slide number 9, filing of trademark application. So if there is no mark already exists which is identical or similar to the mark, the proprietor can file application for registration of the trademark in form TMA by filling up details and documents. So what are the details to be filled up in the application? So as already I have explained, name of the proprietor, address of the proprietor, who is the agent and their address, what is the classification of goods and services and which clause it falls. Then the authorized person, if it is a company, who is authorized to sign the application, then signature of the applicant is required. This is the details we are going to fill up in the then exact representation of the trademark. These are all the details we are going to fill up in the trademark application. Then what are all the documents required for filing application for trademark registration? Signed copy of the application, power of attorney authorizing the trademark agent, affidavit along with, if you are claiming user date, then you have to file affidavit along with the user proof. Even if you are not claiming any user proof, if you are proposed to be used, then the user proof and the filing affidavit will not come. And statutory filing fee, if the applicant is a company, board resolution authorizing one of the directors to do all necessary things. Then if you have adopted one trademark but your products and services are falling under different kind of different classification of goods and services as stated in the NICE classification of goods and services, you may ask whether it is possible to file one application for various classification of goods and services. Yes, it is possible. You can file one application as a multi-class application for one trademark for various classification of goods and services, for example. Then, but you cannot file various trademarks, too many trademarks in one application. One trademark, various goods and services you can file. Then next question will be from client will be whether if you file a multi-class application, the fee will be also one fee. The answer is no, because you have to pay the fee. Like each and every classification of goods and services, you have to pay separate fee. But the application alone, you can make it as multi-class application, single application. So next one is step 3. After filing of application, I have shown my slide number 10 now. So what is the process involved after filing of the application? So once you file the application, the registry will scrutinize the application. Whether this mark is objectionable or it can be allowed, all those things, they will scrutinize the application and they will issue the search report. Usually in the trade examination report, they will raise objection under section 9 and section 11 of the Trademarks Act. Actually, the section 11 objection, as already I told that it can be overcome, but the section 9 objection is very dangerous. So we have to give proper suitable reply. Because of this reason only, I have already advised that we have to very cautious about adopting the trademark. Then we have to see which are all the trademarks we should not adopt. So if you have already decided, very wisely decided after getting consultation from the trademark agent, you have filed application, there will not be any section 9 application because we have already attended to it. Simply we file application, definitely this objection will come. So after receiving this examination report, within a month you have to file reply in the form of affidavit along with the user proof or something, whatever you want to say. You have to file it with the registry. Thereafter, this registry will, the registrar or senior examiner of the trademark registry will examine your affidavit to the reply of the examination report, and if they are convinced, directly they will issue advertisement of acceptance order. So there will not be any hearing. So for example, if they are not so convinced, then they will issue one hearing notice. So we have to attend the hearing before the senior examiner and we have to convince him how these objections are not, our application is not objectionable under these provisions, and we have to In orally also we have to convince them. Once they are convinced about our reply, so they will issue the advertisement before acceptance order. Once the advertisement before acceptance or the advertisement of acceptance order is issued, then the mark will get published in the trademark journal. So my slide number 7 is the next process of trademark application registration. So the mark will be advertised in the trademark journal as per section 20 of the Trademarks Act. Purpose of this advertisement in the trademark journal is that anybody else claims that they are the proprietor of the mark which is advertised in the trademark journal, they can oppose our mark. So even if we are the proprietor of the trademark, somebody else has filed application, if that mark is advertised, we can also oppose the mark. It is for the purpose of giving all the general public to oppose the mark if they feel that it is against their interest. So after the order of the examiner of trademark, the mark will be advertised in the trademark journal. Actually, 4 months time is given to the general public to oppose the registration of the trademark if they have any objection for granting registration of the trademark. Initially, it was 3 months. After the amendment, now it is 4 months time is granted. So in the 4 months time, we cannot do anything. We have to wait. If once after filing of the application, after this advertisement, no other way, you have to wait for 4 months. So within this 4 months time, there is no objection received from any of the proprietors, then it will go to the next stage. For example, if there is any objection, then we have to see the opposition proceedings also. So in our office, we used to every time there will be 4,000 pages of trademark or journal advertisement. We used to check each and every page monthly, twice there is a trademark journal advertisement. In our office, we used to check each and every page of the trademark journal advertisement, and we used to give communication to our client if at all if there is any similar mark is advertised in the trademark journal. So we'll advise our client whether it is advisable to file opposition against the trademark or it is not required. That opinion also we used to send. So next one is after advertisement of the trademark, what is the grounds of opposition? For example, if you feel that the mark advertised is similar or deceptively similar to your mark, then you have the opportunity to file opposition. So you can file that opposition under form TMO. So within that 4 months period, you have to file that opposition with the concerned registrar of trademarks. So what are the grounds available for filing opposition? So I have given in a nutshell. So it is basically under section 9 and under section 11. Section 9 is already I have explained in detail absolute grounds of opposition. Section 11 is relative grounds of opposition. So the mark is similar or identical or deceptively similar, you can file opposition against that registration of the trademark. Then if the mark itself is devoid of any distinctive character, then you can file opposition against the registration of the advertised mark. If the mark is descriptive in nature, if the mark is prohibited under the Emblems and Names Act 1950, if the mark is likely to hurt religious feelings, I have already explained that broomstick for Sri Ganapati. So likewise, so if the trademark advertised is objectionable under these grounds, you can file application against registration of the trademark. So we have already seen section 9 absolute grounds of objection. Let us see now what is the objections mentioned under relative grounds under section 11. Under section 11, you can keep it in mind that the two marks will be compared, whereas in section 9, your mark alone will be taken. Then on the basis of the section 9, whether there is any objection, they will see. But under section 11, they will compare your mark, the mark which is advertised in the trademark journal, with the other proprietor's mark. So there is a comparison between two marks. So what is stated in section 11? Relative grounds for refusal of registration. Save as provided in section 12, a trademark shall not be registered if because of its identity with an earlier trademark and similarity of goods or services covered by the trademark, or its similarity to an earlier trademark and the identity or similarity of the goods or services by the trademark. There exists a likelihood of confusion on the part of the public, which includes the likelihood of association with the earlier trademark. A trademark which is identical with or similar to an earlier trademark and is to be registered for goods or services which are not similar to those for which earlier trademark is registered in the name of a different proprietor. shall not be registered if or to the extent the earlier trademark is a well-known trademark in India and the use of the later mark without due cause would take unfair advantage of or be detrimental to the distinctive character or repute of the earlier trademark. So these are all the objections mentioned in section 11.1 and 11.2. There are also other objections under 11.3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is about 11 subclass 6 is about well-known mark. So I'm not explaining, I'm not reading all these provisions because it will take so much of time. So we have to keep it in mind this section 9 and section 11 application for filing opposition or filing defense to the opposition. So in the counter, if, for example, if we are the applicant, our mark is advertised, somebody else has opposed our mark under section 9 or section 11, we have to file our counter. So what are the grounds we are going to defense, we are going to take in the counter, that on the basis of this framework of the act, we have to decide. So next I am going to the next slide number 3. So like how I explained the how step 1, step 2, step 3 for trademark registration. Trademark, once the mark is opposed, then there are also some procedures involved in this. So after completion of this opposition proceedings only, this will go to the main process. So first now if the notice of opposition in form TMO is filed, we have to file the applicant whose mark is advertised against which the opposition is being launched. That proprietor has to file their counter, their defense in form TMO with the trademark registry. This has to be filed within 2 months from the date of opposition. So as already I have explained, notice of opposition has to be filed within 4 months. Why I am explaining this timeline since frequently, this is very important in trademarks because if you have not filed, if you have not complied with the specific action within the timeline mentioned in the Trademarks Act, then it is lost. Once it is lost, that's all. We cannot do anything. Then you have to, if you, so it is very important. So you have to keep it in mind. The timelines are very important in the trademark procedures. So counter statement has to be filed within 2 months from the date of receipt of notice of opposition. After filing of counter statement, the opponent has to file their evidence that like how, when they have adopted, what are the user proofs, how this mark is similar, all those things they have to include clear evidence along with the affidavit they have to file before the trademark registry to the counter statement. That is also has to be done within 2 months. So whether there is any fee involved in this? Yes, for notice of opposition and counter statement there is a fee involved. Whereas for the evidence stage there is no fee. You have to just file an affidavit along with the user proof. Then next the affidavit, after the receipt of evidence in support of opposition, the applicant has to file evidence in support of application. Their side evidence they are supposed to produce within 2 months from the receipt of affidavit in support of opposition. Thereafter, the final stage, like after the notice of opposition, after the counter statement, after the affidavit in support of opposition, after the affidavit in support of application, if the parties feel, either the opponent or the applicant, if they feel that they want to produce some more evidence, some evidence were omitted to be mentioned already, or after seeing the evidence of the other party, they want to produce some more extra evidence, they can file it. So thereafter, the registry will fix up a date for hearing. Then the application will be, the opposition proceedings will be here. It is like one legal litigation proceeding. They will hear the opposition, the objection and the reply, the defense taken by the applicant, and they will decide whether the application is can be allowed or not. Either if the registrar is convinced about the applicant's stand, and they will reject the opposition and they will direct the registration of the trademark. For example, if the opposition is allowed, then the application will get abandoned. Then that's all. That ends. So once the trademark opposition procedures are over, then we are going to the next stage. For example, if the opposition is abandoned, that they have not, the registrar has not accepted with respect to the oppositions raised by the objections raised by the opponent. If he is rejecting the opposition and if he is directing the registration of the trademark, the registry will issue the registration certificate. After it is stated in section 23. After the advertisement of the trademark in the journal, if there is no opposition received and if the time for opposition is over or the application has been opposed and the opposition has been decided in favor of the applicant, the registrar will register the trademark. It will take approximately within 18 months and issue the registration certificate under section 23 of the Trademarks Act 1999. After registration, the date of application is presumed to be date of registration as per section 23 class 1 of the Trademarks Act 1999. This point is very important because if you file the application and if the mark is getting registered after 2-3 years or even after 5 years, once it is registered, you are going back and date of application is the registration date. So always you have to mention after registration, you have to take the data from the application date. For example, for the purpose of deciding the renewal also, you have to calculate from the date of application, not from the date of registration. So once the mark is registered, whether the proprietor can keep quiet and simply sit? No. You have to do the renewal. 10 years it is valid. The registration is valid for 10 years. So once in 10 years, you have to file the renewal application with the appropriate trademark registry. For example, if you are unable to, the trademark renewal application can be filed prior to 6 months from the due date. So if you are unable to file that application before the due date, what happens? So further extension is available up to 6 months with additional fee. You are unable to do that, or you forgot, or your trademark agent did not intimate you about the trademark renewal. What you will do? Then another 6 months extension is available. So ultimately, with the additional fee, first one 6 months extension, thereafter another 6 months extension. Even in within that period, you have not filed renewal application, then you are lost. You cannot do anything. Your mark will be removed from the register. So you'll be losing everything. The process, everything is gone. Your money is lost. So the renewal process is very important. In one of our cases, we have handled one case because he got registration. He appointed some other trademark agent. They have filed application and they have got registration. After 10 years, there was no intimation to our client about the renewal and the renewal due date. So he did not do the renewal. So he came to us. Then what to do? Even after that extension of period also, he did not do it. But to do, as already explained, as per the act, it is very strict, the timings and all. So we have found that there was actually, as per the Trademarks Act, the registry is supposed to issue a notice to the trademark proprietor intimating the trademark renewal due. But that notice was not sent from the trademark registry. So we found that on the basis of that ground, we have filed writ petition before the Honorable High Court of Madras, and we got the order also. Then finally the trademark is restored. So it is not applicable to all proprietor because everybody cannot take this ground. There is reasonable justification that if there is any default from the trademark registry side, then we can do this kind of work and we can get order from the respective courts. So next we have to see that what are we always client used to see what is your fee, what is the application fee, what is the statutory filing fee. That they are, because if the beginners, they are commencing the business, they are very much concerned about the monetary values. So I have given in this slide, in slide number 16, what are all the fees involved in with respect to this trademark registration process. For example, if it is there is some concession given by the government with respect to individual and startups and small enterprises. If the application is filed in individual name and if you are having MSME certificate, then you can avail the concession granted by the government. If it is a company, generally it is a 10,000 per class per mark, and if it is done through online, they have given some concession, it is 9,000. If it is a small enterprises, startup and individual, it is the 50% of the fee is reduced by the government. It is only 5,000. If it is filed online, it is only 4,500. Then for notice of opposition, 3,000. Everything is mentioned as per class per mark. You have to always keep it in mind. Everything is per class per mark. If you file another class, it will be double. So you have to keep it in mind that also. For notice of opposition and for filing counter statement in the opposition proceedings, the statutory filing fee is 3,000. If it is filed online, 2,700. So for filing renewal application after that 10 years period, within that due date period, it is 10,000. If it is filed online, 9,000 rupees. Then the next one is to register subsequent proprietor. I have not explained the other aspects, so only I am giving statutory because there is no time for taking you through the assignment, transfer, and all other things. The next session we may be able to explain all these things. So only I am giving short to understand the statutory filing fees. To register subsequent proprietor assignment or transfer, it is 10,000 rupees. A person to be registered as registered user, that is also 5,000 rupees. If all the applications are filed online, there is 10% concession. issue of search certificate. The search certificate is for if you file application for copyright registration, then you are supposed to get this search certificate from the concerned register of trademarks. Once they give the clear certificate, then only you will be able to file that copyright application. So the fee involved is 10,000 rupees per class per mark. If it is filed online, 9,000 rupees. So other miscellaneous form. What is other miscellaneous form? Like amendment for addition of goods, for amendment in the trademark, proprietor name, whatever amendment in the application which is already filed. It is 1,000 rupees. It has to be filed in form TMM. To register a person as trademark agent, that is also for 5,000 rupees. So if it is filed online, there is a concession of 10%. So in this slide, you are able to understand what is the fee involved for various forms and procedures. So generally, slide number 7 is on the basis of our experience. I have given this slide. After filing of the application, usually this clarification used to come to us. Is amendment in trademark application allowed under the Trademarks Act? Because after filing of the application, there may be changes. So they want to amend the application. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Under section 22 of the Trademarks Act, the trademark law in India provides the applicant of a trademark with an opportunity to correct an application only for minor changes and not for changes that substantially affect the identity of the trademark or the goods or services covered by the application. The correction or amendment as allowed can be made before or after registration of the trademark application. So you can understand from this slide, the amendment is possible in the trademark, proprietary name or address, but the amendment should not be substantially change the trademark. If it is small amendment, you can do that. If it substantially changes, then that will not be allowed. Then you have to file the new application only. Then whether the amendment is allowed prior to registration, there is no doubt. If it is pending application, you can file. After the registration also, is it allowed? Yes, there is a provision for that also. Even after registration, you can file application for amendment. Then I have explained what are all the permissible amendments under the Trademarks Act. Amendment or correction in the name of the registered proprietor, cancel the entry of a trademark on the register, amendment of user date, amendment in the specification of goods and services. So amendment of user date will come sometimes you may be without correctly validating the data. You have given the user date wrongly, so that can be also changed. Then specification of goods and services, if you want to add some more goods, then it is possible. So cancel the entry of a trademark on the register. But you can think that why we have filed application, we got registration, why should I cancel the entry of a trademark on the register? For example, if you take demerger scheme of demerger, on the basis of that, if one party says that I am not going to use, or if there is some restriction, then that has to be cancelled. Amendment, the registration in the name of the other party has to be cancelled. Then for the purpose, this can be used. So next slide is slide number 18. With respect to, this is the general trademark litigations. So with respect to trademarks, now until slide number 17, we have seen that what are all the basics of the trademark, what are all the procedures. Now we have come to the next level, that what is the trademark litigations. One is about filing of infringement cases. So once the mark is registered, you are getting the statutory protection under the Trademarks Act. So somebody else is after getting registration, if anybody else is using the same mark, identical, deceptively similar or closely similar, then you can file infringement suit under section 134 where you reside or where you are carrying on business. Section 28 of the Trademarks Act gives exclusive right to the proprietor to use the trademark for the goods and services for which he obtained registration and gives statutory right to file infringement suit under section 29 of the Trademarks Act 1999. So filing infringement case section 28 and 29 is very important. So section 134 also important, as already I explained. It is about jurisdiction where to file the infringement suit. What is the need for getting registration of the trademark? So next one, what is if the trademark is not registered? You don't know anything about the trademark registration, trademarks act and all, but you are bona fide, you have bona fide adopted the mark and you have been using the mark for very long. But somebody else is using the mark, misusing the mark, then what you will do? So if it is not registered, there is no remedy? No, actually there is a remedy possible under the common law. So you can file a passing of suit before the appropriate civil court under section 27 clause 2. So it provides expressly provides for an action for passing off. So the three fundamental elements of passing off are representation and damage to goodwill. Actually, what is the difference between passing off cases? Passing off case, your burden is very much. In infringement case, your burden is very less. Only you have to show the trademark registration certificate. You have to see the mark is registered. That's all. So then the passing of suit, you have to explain everything. You have to put the evidence and you have to put oral evidence stating that how the mark is, how the defendants have misappropriated your goodwill and how it was misused, what is the loss or damage happened to you, how your reputation is lost. All those things, it is your burden to explain each and everything and prove. Burden is on you to prove everything of the oral evidence as well as the documentary evidence. So this is the reason why, though this registration is not mandatory under the Trademarks Act, we have been advising our client to get the mark get registered. So what are the things they have to prove while filing the case? First they have to show that the marks are similar. The defendant is passing off its goods as those of plaintiff, and there is bound to be confusion in the minds of consumers. The test to be applied whether a person of average intelligence and of imperfect recollection will be confused. So these are all the things you have to prove when you file the passing of suit. So now I think the time is up. So with this I am concluding my presentation, today's presentation. Though there are so many things in Trademarks Act, today I am concluding this session because the time is not there. So I believe that everybody is able to understand what is trademark and what is the procedures involved in brief manner. So I thank each and everyone who have participated and patiently listened to my presentation for last 30 or 45 minutes. I thank you once for all, and I thank Mr. Dr. K. Savichandran sir who has given me this opportunity, and BCIC and all our colleagues, everybody. Thank you so much. If there is any queries, definitely you can ask me.
So you can close the screen share.
Yes, sir.
So the screen is visible, Mr. Prithvi.
1 minute, sir. 1 minute. Yes, I have closed it.
Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible now.
Okay, so we will wind up this session in another 3 to 5 minutes. I just wanted to, inform you. I think we have had a beautiful presentation on the very important aspects of trademark registration, and the cautionary statements that Advocate Manjula has given have always been very good, and it is coming from practical experience in several cases. And I just wanted to take you through, certain marks like Chivas Regal case. Once upon a time, this 1801 brand had suffered a defeat at the first two rounds in China, and people used to say that at the best, Chivas Regal can be drunk in China sitting on a Chivas Regal sofa. So that is how the people were commenting, because they were unable to get protection. But at the higher court level, they were able to get. And this is one of the 3D designs that this Chivas Regal was able to get registered in China. So that is why I thought I'll put it here. I'll also give you another case of McCurry in Malaysia versus McDonald. In the first round, McDonald won, but in the second round, in the higher court, McCurry at last was able to win. That Subaya and Kanageshwari, who started this small restaurant, saying Malaysian chicken curry. The MC stands for Malaysian chicken curry, and it is a very interesting case because it was a case where the MC, which is pronounced as Mac, that is common with MAC also, has got defeated in this case, in this restaurant chain case. It was a very interesting case because it was one which decided several things, and may not derive advantage of an exclusive monopoly over MC. This is a very beautiful. Hope I am audible. Manjula?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
Right.
you're
So
audible.
McCurry is one case where, in fact, I don't know if you have noticed, there was a case where I have appeared before the IPAB and registry. Nirmal was the brand for pump manufacturer here, but Nirma opposed it strongly and won the first round in the registry. And we went and appealed against the registrar's decision in IPAB. And I argued that Nirma cannot monopolize the word Nirma by adding prefixes and suffixes. That was a case which was a very interesting case on the basis of monopoly. You cannot accept monopoly over a word that you have chosen, and so much so that anybody using make curry or make beans or make breads or anything like that, you can make different things, and it cannot be. So this is another interesting decision in the Malaysia. So that one. Next one I wanted to show you is a case of the SIBA Limited, Switzerland, 1957 Indian decision. SIBA Limited it's actually popular brand for some ringworms. You need to apply it on the body, skin and all. It's a very interesting case. You can understand. Just I'm taking it because the judge was asking the Saibal managing partner, why did you choose CIBAL? Then he was explaining C stands for cuts. I stands for itches, B for boils, and what is for oil. So the judge was interestingly saying the ingenuity is good, but at the same time, he rejected the argument of the managing partner saying Saibal he adopted because C stands for cuts, I stands for itches, and B for boils. Very interesting, ingenious explanation the managing partner gave. So I thought there is fun at the end of the day. Then you can also remember the top guardians along with KSR and Co. protecting the brands. You can see there are a lot of brands. You can see the top brands in India and the guardians of those top brands, the Ajay Bangas, the Mukesh Ambanis, and so many people here. I just want to thank BCIC for this great opportunity to explain a few aspects and nuances of intricacies of the trademarks law and the practices that are prevailing in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, KSR, and the speaker for the day, Manjula. It was a wonderful presentation by you. Definitely, I think those who are here would have benefited it. And if there are any questions, quickly you can ask. Couple of questions can be taken. I think KSR has also replied one or two in the chat box. Basically, this infringement and passing off are the two things which will lead to a litigation as far as trademark is concerned. I know many of you are aware about this. The person who is making allegations has to prove that he has really suffered a loss. Just mere allegation and trying to say that there is a passing off or infringement doesn't make a good case for him. Moreover, by getting a registration itself doesn't mean that you can own that mark. It is the number of years prior to you who has been using has the owners on that. So some people might not have registered, but their brand is already there. People know that. Now today I go and register something and claim that I have registered it. You cannot use that. It doesn't work like that. It is the registry department is only registering the mark, and if there is no objection, they go ahead and give. They, of course, department also makes some survey. Now today I have got one mark. One person is asking for a monkey face with a small freedom, what do you call, a kind of on his head. Now I'm telling it looks resembles like Lord Hanuman. I need to look at whether there could be an objection from any of the people or concerned stakeholders. So, but there is no eyes, anything. Only the face is like monkey. It has a rose color in this area. There's a small thrown on him.
So, but the moment you see, you can recollect that it is Lord Hanuman. So I don't know. We have to apply and see. Is there any? Only the objections has to come. But from my, as a council, I have to tell them, there is a likeliness of getting objection. If possible, why don't you change it? Is what I am trying to say. Let us see how it goes. So thank you very much, KSR and Co. And on behalf of BCICA, I thank all the speakers who have given a wonderful speakers topic, covering the topics, and also a detailed PPT. So and also thanks for KSR company to having supported this event, 2-day workshop on IPR. Thank you very much. And I also thank the BCIC Secretariat Prithvi and Rupa to take this forward. And we have come to the concluding session. We will definitely come back again with more topics. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much.